Okay, well, let's now take forward our real estate story. We have with us Suresh Sadagopan, the founder of Ladder7 Financial Advisories. Mr. Sadagopan, thank you so much for taking our time today. I hope you and your family are keeping well, staying safe amidst this pandemic. So let's talk firstly about the importance of owning a home. Having your own home has been an idea that has long been passed on from generations, because it offers you that security and safety for you and your family. But I think home ownership may have reduced in terms of its importance, especially for the urban millennials, for Gen Z as well to a certain extent, who don't want to be tied down perhaps in one town or one city. So let's first talk about that, from a sentimental perspective, from a cultural perspective, and then of course we can talk about the financial perspective as well of it.
Yeah, the point of owning a home is very, very important for a lot of people. I think it definitely has a connotation of security, definitely for a lot of people. So that is very much there. And at some point in time, we definitely want to have our own home. So the only point that we have to keep in mind is today, a lot of people are very mobile. And in search of their career prospects, people move from town to town. And they want to be there in that place as long as their career is doing well, and they may want to move to some other city or some other country as is warranted by their career choices. So that being the case, buying a property right at the beginning may not be a great idea. At a certain point in time, when they really are sure that they will settle in town A or city B, and they are very sure about that, and they will not move their family, the family will be there even if they have to move, then it is absolutely fine.
All right. Mr. Sadagopan, let's talk about it from a bit of a more financial perspective as well now. In fact, that's what the show as well is all about. Property prices are at really low levels, and it sometimes can get, and plus, you have developers throwing in some discounts. For example, a few months ago, we had, even the state government sort of doing their bit to boost home ownership and, to encourage people to go out there and buy homes. So this is a very interesting time. And of course, not to mention the other added factor is the fact that interest rates are as well very low. So getting financing for your home is also very easy. But to what extent should you actually be stretching your finances to ensure you're utilizing all of these deals and, once in a lifetime opportunities?
You are absolutely right, Mubina, in saying that, you are getting some very juicy deals at this point in time. The property prices themselves are actually low in a lot of places across the country. So in a sense, this is a good time to actually buy a property. The only thing that a person has to consider is that, see, these are still COVID times. We are still in the midst of COVID. So, do we have a steady job? Are we expecting a steady income over the period of time? Because for most of us, when we buy a home, there is also going to be a fair amount of loan that we are going to take. So we should be in a position to actually service the loan without any problem in future. So we need to check that out. At this point in time, I think that is the most important thing. The loan rates are very low. So from that point of view, also, it is actually a good time to buy. So the important thing to consider are two. Do we have a income visibility for the next several years? And because of the COVID, one has to again reaffirm whether that is possible. And the second thing is, yes, wherever they are buying, is that the right city in which they want to actually drop anchor? So those two things, if it is answered positively, affirmatively, this is a good time to buy.
Yeah, sometimes it can seem like too large a commitment for you to really make mistakes. It limits the room for mistakes to be made by you, and hence you need to ensure that you're doing proper and all your due diligence as well. And yeah, that's of course about how to financially prep yourself. Now, ideally, Mr. Sadagopan, it's great to keep your debt levels as low as possible. It's not the best thing to be living with enormous amounts of debt. But when it comes to buying a home, How much debt is okay? How much from your own pocket? Is there any number, a definite absolute number that you live by, or do you think it depends from person to person, income levels, etc.?
Yeah, so there is no absolute number of debt percentage that we have, but most people, I mean, that we have seen typically, I mean, most of the loan giving now shifting that to the income versus EMI. So a person may be earning, let us say, for example, 2 lakh rupees. And if the EMI is, let us say, 60,000, probably that is something that is going to be easily manageable. But whereas if a person is earning, say, 85,000 and the EMI is going to be 60,000, it is going to be a bit of a stretch for that person to service that, especially when there is a spike in the expenses for some reason. So, I mean, a very ballpark thing that one has to keep in mind as far as EMIs are concerned. This, mind you, again, I'm clarifying that there is no particular one number, but I would say something like 40 to 50% of overall loan, if one is servicing from the income, then it is fine. Anything beyond that 50%, we are actually stepping into a dangerous territory. It can be above that also for very high income earners. Suppose somebody is earning, say, 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs and things like that, and they are, let us say, paying 2.5 lakhs or 2.75 lakhs as EMI. For them, their regular expenses and annual expenses and all that can be met with the balance amount itself. So for those kind of people, probably whatever I'm telling is not applicable. For all the others, it should be, in my opinion, well below 50%.
Well, it should be your EMI figure should be less than, or your loan figure, whatever you're repaying, should be less than 50% of your total income. It's not good to shell out more than 50% of your income just towards, paying your debt obligations. Financially, it's not the best practice. And of course, every case is different. So like Mr. Sadagopan said, so it's always best to consult an independent financial advisor, because this is a very subjective, bit, and it cannot really be quantified as a plain black and white thing. Okay, let's do the whole rent versus buy math now, Mr. Sadagopan, because keeping the whole societal bit and the traditional bit aside, purely from a math perspective, many a times when we sit down really and think about how much we will be paying if we want to purchase a house outright, or how much or on EMI, or how much will I be paying if I just live on rent for the course of the next few years. And now, of course, given the fact that we're working from home, there is a potential of us moving to a smaller, inexpensive town as well. So considering all of this, how do you see, and given the fact that yields in India are so low, how do you see this whole rent versus buy math figuring out for let's assume first time, people who do not have a home at all of theirs?
Yeah. So renting versus buying has been something that people have been discussing all the time. So generally, it is seen that buying a home is a much better proposition as opposed to renting. See, the only thing we have to understand is if we are going for a certain property, let us take an example. Let us take a 1 crore property. The rent will be a certain X. Let us say it is 30,000 rupees. So now if I want to buy that same property, I will have to pay maybe 20 lakhs or something like that, or 25 lakhs, and balance I will have to take on a loan. So if you actually look at any property anywhere in the country, the rent amount will be roughly about 1/3 of the EMI amount that we will have to pay to service that loan. Typically, that is the ratio that we have seen. So we have to see whether the kind of property that is suitable for our families is affordable for us to actually buy in the area of our choice. A lot of times it is not at the early stages of the career. So it may be a much better idea to rent properties and live in a place which is suitable for the family. The kind of location and the kind of the area of the property itself. So it is better to probably rent. And I think I have covered this earlier also, that people also keep moving from city A to city B in pursuance of their careers. And from that point of view, actually buying a property in one city and then finding that they have to move to another city is actually very, very inconvenient. They will continue to pay the EMI for the property that they have bought, and they will stay on rent in another city for the property they anyway have to rent. So it is a better idea, to summarize, it's a better idea to rent properties at the beginning of the career. At a later point, when you are able to afford a property which is suitable to you and you are able to buy in a location and a city of your choice, it is better to go for your own property.
I think with that we are out of time, but I'm sure our viewers have gained significantly, by listening to you and I hope they consider all these points that you've mentioned when they take their decision, especially as they are looking at all these mouth-watering deals around them. Thank you so much, Mr. Sadagopan, for joining us.
Thanks, Mubina. Thanks a lot.
Forward with our next guest. Who that is, what will be our topics? Well, stay tuned. Short break for now.